Picture this. You're standing right in the middle of a sprawling, chaotic digital county fair. And to your left, there's this deafening, triumphant ding of a giant bell ringing out over the crowd, followed by like a chorus of cheers.
Oh yeah, just the classic carnival sounds.
Right. And then to your right, there's a racetrack where people are just groaning in unison because a tiny wooden boat randomly decided to float backward right before the finish line.
Naturally.
And straight ahead, someone is actively using a massive hammer to hit a catapult that literally launches a frog through the air.
Which is, you know, an entirely normal Tuesday afternoon, obviously.
Exactly. It's absolute pandemonium. It's loud. It's completely ridiculous. And if you are standing there in the middle of it, you instantly want to know what is going on.
You have to investigate.
You do. So today we are taking a deep dive into the UOAlive games. For anyone who might be newer to the space, UOAlive is this incredible, community-driven Ultima Online server.
Yeah, it's really something special.
It's built on a foundation of breathing new, vibrant life into one of the most legendary fantasy worlds in gaming history. And if you've ever felt like modern MMO gaming is just an endless, exhausting grind of, like, spreadsheets and daily quests.
And hyper-optimization.
Yes. If you're tired of that, this festival is exactly the antidote you didn't know you needed.
It really is a massive shift in perspective. What we're looking at here is a sprawling, player-friendly, in-game ecosystem.
And it didn't start out that big, right?
No, not at all. And that's what's fascinating to me as someone who studies game design. This didn't just spawn into the world as a massive fairground overnight.
Right.
It began as a really simple trio of events, jousting, archery, and darts. Just a few localized ways for players to pass the time between dungeon runs. But it evolved organically into this sprawling midway of mini-games, vendors, and, interactive systems.
The mission statement behind all of it is just so refreshing. It's built from the ground up on a fun-first philosophy.
Fun first, exactly.
It's accessible, it's casual, it's highly replayable. The entire point is community interaction. You aren't there to save the world from a dragon, You're just there to hang out and maybe throw an axe.
That sounds simple on paper, right? Create a space just to, exist and hang out.
Yeah.
But engineering a digital environment that actually feels casual while simultaneously tracking complex physics, scores, and multiplayer interactions within a classic game engine that is an incredibly difficult logistical balancing act.
I was actually wondering about that because with so many different chaotic things happening at once, archery, frog launching, boat races, pie eating. How does the system manage all this without completely overwhelming the player?
It's a huge design challenge.
Right, you'd think the screen would just be covered in text boxes and rulebook pop-up.
Well, that brings us to the unsung hero of the entire festival design, which is the game totem system.
Game totems.
Yeah, the creators solved the user interface problem by building these totems, and they act as unseen, silent referees for every single event in the fairground.
An invisible referee. Okay, how does that actually work in practice?
So think of it like a smart orchestrator running in the background. When you step up to interact with a game, the totem silently takes over all the heavy lifting.
So no giant menus.
Exactly. You don't get a menu popping up to explain the physics. The totem manages the scoring, it tracks the specific win conditions for that local game, and crucially, it processes all the hidden mathematical formulas behind the scenes.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Right. You, the player, just experience the physical act of playing. The totem does the math, which preserves the absolute magic of discovery.
That perfectly sets up the actual games themselves. Let's start with the events where you, as the player, have direct physical control. The roots of the festival. Let's look at the AIM games.
The absolute classics of any carnival.
You've got archery and darts, but they don't just feel like the same game reskin.
No, they have totally different vibes.
Archery gives you 5 shots with a maximum possible score of 500. It's this steady, drawn-out accuracy challenge. You notch the arrow, you hold, you release.
It's very methodical.
Yeah. But then you have darts, which is significantly faster paced. You only get 3 throws with a maximum score of 150. It's specifically designed for rapid-fire, quick matchups.
Notice the rhythm they're creating there.
Yeah.
You have the longer, suspenseful tension of the archery range, which feels very traditional, contrasted with the snappy pub game resolution of a dartboard.
It really caters to different attention spans, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And different types of socializing, too.
And if you want to escalate the stakes, you step up to axe throwing. This is categorized as heavy aim.
Heavy aim.
You're handed a specific contest axe. You get 5 throws for a maximum of 250 points, and this one introduces a direct one-on-one dueling mode.
Oh, the dueling mode is great.
But we are talking about physical exertion. The most visceral experience has to be the strongman hammer game.
Every carnival needs a test of strength.
Yeah.
It's basically mandatory.
You grab the hammer, you choose your swing, and you're trying to hit that maximum score of 1,000 to trigger that massive crowd-pleasing bell ring we talked about at the very beginning.
Right.
But here's where the design gets incredibly smart. The hit strength isn't just a simple click-and-win mechanic.
No, and this is where those invisible game totems really flex their muscles. The strength of your hammer hit relies on a completely hidden formula.
Which changes everything.
It does. I want to pause and dissect this for a second because it's a brilliant philosophical choice in modern game design. By deliberately hiding the exact mechanics of how to achieve that perfect 1,000-point swing, the game actively prevents players from solving it.
Meaning there's no immediate wiki guide that says, like, click your mouse at exactly 2.4 seconds while maintaining exactly 85 stamina to guarantee a win.
Precisely. If we look at the broader landscape of MMO gaming, there is this pervasive issue where players optimize the fun right out of the experience.
Oh, totally.
The moment you expose all the back-end math, players stop engaging with the game as a fantasy world and start running it like a corporate spreadsheet calculation.
It becomes a job.
Exactly. But by keeping the hammer's formula hidden behind that totem, the focus stays entirely on the attempt itself. The trial, the error, the physical satisfaction of just winding up, swinging the hammer, and hoping for the best.
It forces you to play it by feel. It keeps the magic alive, which honestly is going to be a recurring theme here, especially as we transition away from games of physical skill and move over to the games that test your psychological fortitude.
Oh boy. And your pure, unadulterated luck.
Welcome to the chaos portion of the fairgrounds.
My personal favorite section. Chaos is where the real community bonding actually happens.
Let's talk about the pie eating contest. This is essentially a high-stakes bluffing card game disguised as a carnival event.
It's so clever.
You get a hand of cards featuring different pie flavors. You've got apple, blueberry, cherry, meat, pumpkin, and fish.
Meat and fish pies baking in the sun at a summer festival. I mean, I can smell it from here.
Delicious, right?
Yeah.
So the mechanics work like this. You play 1 to 4 matching cards face down, and you verbally claim a pie type. So I might put down 3 cards and confidently tell you these are 3 apple pies. You, as the next player, have a choice. You can call my bluff, you can let it ride and pass, or you can add your own cards to the pile.
It's basically a fantasy tavern version of the classic game BS.
Exactly. You are playing the player, not the cards. But the punishment for getting caught in a lie or for wrongly accusing someone else of lying is that your character actually has to eat a mystery pie.
See, this game raises a fascinating point about how different mechanics demand different types of player interaction. It's explicitly designed to be played with voice chat.
It really is.
It relies entirely on the social metagame. You aren't just looking at text bubbles over avatars. You are actively listening to your friends' voices over Discord, trying to hear that slight vocal flutter when they claim they just put down 4 cherry pies.
You're listening for the lie. It's pure social engineering. And speaking of testing the limits of friendship, we have to talk about the beer drinking contest.
A classic.
It's a dice-based endurance game. Everyone gathers around, you roll dice, and the lowest roller takes a drink. But if you roll a 1, the game forces you to drink regardless.
Ouch.
There is no maximum score. It is purely a survival game where you are eventually eliminated by overdrinking.
It is the definition of chaotic social gaming. There's this shared anticipation. Everyone is gathered around the table, groaning at the dice rolls, watching the inevitable elimination approach.
But if we're talking about groaning at random numbers, absolutely nothing compares to the boat racing. I am obsessed with this mechanic.
Oh, the boats are legendary.
You've got these tiny wooden boats sitting on a track, and players place bets on them. The boats advance based entirely on the roll of a D20 20-sided die. First boat to cross the finish line wins, and a tiebreaker roll decides the payout if multiple people back the winner.
Seems simple enough.
But here's the kicker. If the system rolls a 1 for your boat, it actually moves backward.
Which is completely outside of the player's control. You are entirely at the mercy of the random number generator.
Which is why I have to ask you to explain this from a psychological perspective. Because on paper, a game where you have 0 agency sounds terrible.
It really does.
Why do players get so deeply emotionally attached to these tiny random number generating boats? Why do people scream at their monitors over a wooden boat moving backward?
It's so funny, right? But it taps into a really interesting quirk of human psychology regarding risk and shared experience.
How so?
Well, when the stakes of a game are incredibly high, say, you're fighting a massive raid boss for ultra-rare loot. A failure driven by pure random chance is infuriating.
Oh, I'd be throwing my keyboard.
Exactly. It feels unfair.
Oh.
But when the stakes are artificially low, like, betting a few festival tickets and the shared spectacle is high, the emotional dynamic flips entirely.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, if your boat is mere pixels from the finish line and suddenly rolls a 1 and goes backward, it's not a frustrating loss. It becomes a hilarious, memorable shared story.
That makes a lot of sense.
You aren't angry at the game mechanics. You're laughing with the crowd about the ultimate betrayal of your tiny wooden boat. In this context, the random number generator isn't like a malicious enemy. It's the dungeon master of a tiny 5-minute comedy routine.
The absurdity is the feature, not a bug.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the final game in this chaotic category, the frog toss. You are literally launching a frog from a catapult by hitting a lever with a hammer.
Poor frogs.
I know. You get 3 tosses, it supports a one-on-one duel mode, and just like the strongman hammer, it relies on another hit and launch formula. You just have to figure out the right rhythm and force to send that frog flying.
It's the perfect blend of medieval absurdity and those hidden mechanics we talked about earlier.
Now, I want to step away from the midway tense for a moment and head over to the grand, spectator-friendly events of the festival arena, because the scale of the fairgrounds gets a lot bigger here.
Yeah, we are moving from the side hustle games to the main event. Jousting is the absolute pinnacle of the arena spectacle. It's a direct one-on-one duel. But what makes it so impressive in the UOAlive games is how automated the cinematic elements are. The totems again? Yep, the totem system handles everything. It manages the initial setup, it calculates the momentum of the charge, it handles the physical clash in the center of the lists, and declares the final result.
So you aren't mashing buttons trying to steer your horse.
No, because the system is doing all the heavy lifting. It frees up the players to just enjoy the thrill of the ride. It makes the event perfectly tournament-ready and highly watchable for the crowds in the stands.
It's a true spectator sport, but, you can't have jousting without incredible mounts. And this brings us to the Clydesdale encounters. These massive horses pair thematically perfectly with the jousting arena. But there is a massive, fascinating caveat regarding these mounts. The actual encounter and the specific mechanics required to tame them are completely hidden by the developers. Players just have to venture out into the world and discover the method for themselves. So, full disclosure to you listening right now, we are not going to spoil exactly how to tame them because the mystery is entirely the point.
And that mystery is what gives the discovery value. But while the taming mechanics are secret, the deep lore integration behind these Clydesdales is absolutely vital to talk about.
It really grounds the whole thing.
Right. This is where the festival anchors itself into the broader world of Ultima Online. These aren't just unusually large horses wearing festival barding. The lore specifically traces the bloodlines of 2 legendary Clydesdales, Lampet and Glancer.
Lampet and Glancer. It sounds like a very reputable law firm, but they are horses.
Very magical horses. According to the history, they were actually pulled into the realm of Ilshanar during a massive planar upheaval.
Okay, for anyone who needs a quick refresher on the geography, Ilshanar is one of the more dangerous, magical, and varied facets of the game world, right? So this isn't just festival fluff.
Not at all. A planar upheaval implies a catastrophic magical event. Their bloodline was preserved during this chaos by an ancient, enigmatic race known as the Mir. Wow. And because of this intense magical planar exposure over generations, they didn't just stay normal workhorses. As players explore, they can discover elemental variants of these Clydesdales.
Like what?
You can find Iron, Storm, Ember, Green Warden, and Celestial variants.
That is incredible world building.
It really is. If we synthesize what the developers are doing here, we can see how rare this design choice actually is. Usually in an MMO, a casual minigame festival is completely divorced from the game's main narrative.
Right, it's just a sandbox.
Treated like non-canonical fluff. But here, they took this fun, spectator-friendly jousting event and tied the mounts directly into high fantasy planar upheaval lore. It grounds the fun in the actual ancient history of the game world. It makes the festival feel earned.
It makes the fairgrounds feel like a tangible event happening in a living world rather than just a separate menu screen of mini games you teleport to. And that brings us to the overall spirit and atmosphere of the festival itself. Because all of these games, all of this deep lore, it's all wrapped up in a thriving ambient ecosystem.
The ambient features are what really sell the illusion of a crowded carnival.
Definitely. You walk through the grounds and you are surrounded by this lively environment filled with NPC callers actively hyping up the crowd, trying to get you to play their games.
Step right up.
Yeah. You've got jugglers performing in the walkways. You've got specific festival food to eat and unique festival clothing to wear. And as you engage with all of this, you're earning tickets.
The real currency of a fair.
You can take those tickets and trade them at specific vendors for unique prizes and token rewards. There are even tracked winner boards scattered around for the competitive players who really want to cement their legacy at the games.
And we absolutely have to talk about the titles.
Oh man, the titles might be the best part. There are 29 discoverable titles you can earn and equip to your character to show off your festival exploits.
I love how they implemented these.
Right. Some of them are straightforward, given for high scores, but some of them are deeply hidden or require you to do something very specific or very stupid to unlock them. Personally, if I'm playing a grand epic RPG, I am instantly bypassing the serious stoic titles like the Jouster or the Archer.
Oh, same.
I want to walk into a high-level, world-ending boss fight proudly wearing the title of the Drunkard or the Frog Tosser.
It is the ultimate flex. It immediately tells everyone in your party exactly what your priorities in life are.
Exactly.
But there is a vital observation to be made here about how you actually acquire some of these titles and rewards.
Yeah.
The festival is packed with hidden interactions, visual jokes, and Easter eggs. But they don't just trigger when you get a high score or win a major tournament. Many of them explicitly trigger on losses or unusual events.
Rewarding failure, which goes against every instinct in traditional game design.
Exactly. And it is brilliant because it completely diffuses the frustration and toxicity of losing. If you mess up terribly on the archery range, or your boat goes backward, or you launch your frog straight into a wall, the game might just reward you with a secret joke or a hidden interaction that the winner didn't get to see.
That's so cool.
It literally turns a failure into a feature. It makes losing fun.
So what does this all mean for the player? The core philosophy of this entire event can be summed up with what I'm going to call the festival spirit mantra. The creators laid it out perfectly. Try games, miss horribly, ring the bell, eat the pie, back the wrong boat, blame the frog, demand a rematch.
It's game design poetry, really.
It really is.
It perfectly encapsulates a non-toxic, purely joyful environment. It's a reminder to the player base that play is supposed to be playful.
Yes. So, wrapping all of this up for you, whether you are the kind of casual player who just wants to log in after a long day of work, jump into Discord, hang out with some friends, and throw a virtual dart, or you are a fiercely competitive player dedicating hours to chasing that absolute maximum 1,000-point swing on the strongman hammer to get your name etched onto the tracked winner boards. There's a dedicated space carved out for you here.
A space for everyone, Billy.
I couldn't agree more.
It reminds us why we log into these massive shared worlds in the first place. We don't log in just to do math, we log in to share experiences.
Absolutely. The Digital County Fair is officially open for business. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. The creators of this festival went out of their way to intentionally hide the mathematical formulas for the strongman hammer, the frog catapult, and the taming of those elemental Clydesdales.
Sneaky developers.
Very sneaky. And as we just discussed, they explicitly programmed secret jokes and Easter eggs that only trigger during unusual events, bizarre combinations, or spectacular failures.
Right.
So knowing how devious and creative these developers are, it makes you wonder what incredibly bizarre combination of actions is sitting there in the fairgrounds right now, completely undiscovered, just waiting for someone exactly like you to accidentally stumble into it.
Oh, there's definitely something.
Right. Maybe an Easter egg only triggers when the big bell rings, the tiny boat moves backward, and the frog flies into a pie, all at the exact same millisecond. The mechanics are hidden, the possibilities are endless, and the chaos is just waiting for you to jump in. Until next time,
what kind of legend would you create in the world of UOAlive? Think about it.
Think about it.